What's up guys, we're back with a brand new video. In today's video, we're doing the best 23 of the Collingwood Magpies, the biggest team in the comp, the most supported fan team in the comp. Let's see how they go. Now, this is a really interesting one because a lot of people are predicting the fall off of Collingwood this season. But on paper, they still don't look too bad. Yeah, they're a bit old. They've lost some experience in the forward line. Let's see how they go. Before we do get into it, this is the index that we're running, so you guys know what role I picked them for. So then if you're wondering, if you want to say you want to make your own best 23 in the comments, you know why I picked this guy in this role, and then you can pick another player to play this certain role and stuff like that, just so that every best 23, I'm doing it for every single AFL club, it's all kind of the same. So let's get into the defenders. So for the defenders, I picked at the back pocket, Brayden Maynard. At fullback, this is a bit controversial. I've gone with Reef McGuinness. And then at back pocket, I've got Jeremy Howe. And the two back flanks, I do have Dan Houston and Scott Pendlebury. And then at centre half back, the captain, Darcy Moore. Now, Brayden Maynard, Jeremy Howe, they've been there. There's a lot of guys that have pretty much been in these spots for years. Brayden Maynard plays at lockdown small, can play in the mediums, fantastic. Jeremy Howe plays that third tall, intercepting type, great foot skills. Darcy Moore plays an half back, doesn't really play on anyone. He's great coming across and playing that zone defense. But Reef McGuinness, I feel like Reef McGuinness can play that Nathan Murphy role really well. They've tried him in like a third tall. They've tried him, as an interceptor in the back 50. But I feel like Reef McGuinness playing as a lockdown key defender could actually win him a spot in this best 23. A lot of people, when I saw they did the best 23 for Collingwood, they put Billy Frampton. I feel like the Billy Frampton experiment needs to die. I've had enough of Billy Frampton, and I feel like Reef McGuinness was almost going to cement himself in this back 50 last year before I think he went down with some major knee injury. It could have been ACL, I'm not really sure. I just know that he missed pretty much all of last year. So that's why I picked him for this role. And then Dan Houston, he really, they didn't know where to play him last year. It was an All-Australian the year prior, and then came and just did not much and just wasn't even himself at all. But I feel like this is the year he really needs to cement himself. Same thing happened with Lachie Schultz, had a shocker first year at Collingwood, but then last year, Lachie Schultz was really good for Collingwood. And then I've chucked Scott Pendlebury at the half-back line. I feel like Josh Dacos that played at halfback last year. I feel like it's time for, Josh Dacos to move high up the ground and pair up with his brother, Nick Dacos. So Scott Pendlebury, he's a bit older now. He's kind of lost, a bit of that pace, but he still has a footy smarts. We do know Scott Pendlebury played, nearly 400 games. Or he might have played 400, so I've lost track now, to be honest. But yeah, his footy smarts needs to be used of halfback. Now with the midfield, I've got on the wings, I've got Steele Sidebottom and Harry Perryman. And in the guts, I do have Ned Long and the Dacos brothers. And then, of course, Darcy Cameron in the ruck. Now, I've gone Steele Sidebottom, playing that wing role. You could have picked any other guys. I kind of just did a coin flip between Lipinski, Crisp, and Steele Sidebottom. But I've landed on Steele Sidebottom. Played a really great year last year. And then I've chucked Harry Perryman onto the wing. He played more of a half-back role, almost like a defensive defender last year, which is really random because he trained all last year as a midfielder, and they all thought he was going to play on ball, and then he kind of just got lost when Dan Houston ended up having a shocker, because then they kind of moved Dan Houston up to the wing, chucked Harry Perryman behind the ball, and all this sort of stuff happened. But I think Harry Perryman playing that wing, played the same role at GWS on the wing and played really well, and that's kind of what earned him this contract at Collingwood. So I reckon he goes back and plays on the wing. And then I've moved Josh Dacos. I reckon he should be the first centre bounce of 2026. Josh Dacos should be next to his brother Nick Dacos in the midfield. I feel like every time they're in the same midfield together, they're so great. And then it's kind of similar to a Sydney Swans, they had the two offensive midfielders and then the defensive one, because Ned Long is just a defensive beast in there. He's so big, he's 190 centimetres, tackling machine. He can play all the defensive stuff, almost like a James Rowbottom does at Sydney. And then the Dacos brothers can go and do whatever they like. Josh Dacos is a better defender than Nick Dacos, so he can still have the defensive part of his game, but let's just let him go nuts in there. That's how I would pick the team at least. And then, of course, Darcy Cameron. There's no one else really competing for that spot. Forward line. Now, this is a really interesting one because for the first time in years, we don't have Brody and Maya check. But we've got Bo McCurry playing a high half forward. I reckon he will play a lot of centre bounces this year. It's finally time. Bo McCurry, he's big, he's jacked, he's got the strength, he just needs a tank, and hopefully he can do it this year. And I've gone with Charlie West at centre half forward. I feel like this is the time that Charlie West, played one game, looked good, but then the one complaint that came out of that one game that he played was like, oh, how is he going to work next to Brody Myercheck? No problem with that now. Brody Myercheck's gone. So now we do have Lucky Schultz, just got named in the leadership group. One of the best defensive forwards in the comp. Great tackler, great scores. He's in the leadership group. Well done. Jamie Elliott, of course, kicked 60, 50 plus goals last year. I don't know if he'll do that again, but of course he gets that forward pocket spot. And then we got Dan McStay. It's so injury prone, Dan McStay. I feel like he's always in and out of the squad, but this is year he has to stay full forward. Even if he underperforms, you just want his name to be named at full forward for 23 matches this year. And then Tim Membry in the forward pocket. They probably would have hoped that Tim Membry kind of would have got moved past it, on by now by someone like a Charlie West, but they probably didn't expect Brody Myercheck to leave. So he still gets his spot. Now in the interchange, I've gone with Jordan DeGoey playing as an extra mid rotation, plus he can rotate into the forward line. Jack Crisp can play wing, can play forward, can play halfback, can play in the guards, can kind of play everywhere. That's why I've chucked him here. And there's that forward rotation. I've gone with Harvey Harrison. Now you're probably wondering, where's Bobby Hill? There's been rumours that Bobby Hill might not even play again this year. There's a lot of personal stuff going on him, so I haven't selected Bobby Hill in this team. So I've gone with Harvey Harrison, who actually played some really good footy. I don't know what he did his injury last year or the year before. He hasn't really played much footy as of late, but he looked really good a couple of years ago. So I reckon he probably does get that. He's probably next up when it comes to that forward spot. And of course, Isaac Quain, I'm probably stiff not to be named on the field. But he's, one of the best offensive mids in the comp, one of the best lockdown defenders. Fantastic. And then Pat Lipinski, play half forward, can play on the wing, can even play a little bit of, centre bounce. Thanks for watching, guys. That's my team. Drop your team down below in the comments. Thanks for watching. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers.